welcome to Warhammer Workshop. My name is Amy, and I am joined by everyone's favorite hobby curmudgeon, JF. JF, hello.
I don't know that I'm a hobby curmudgeon.
You're really not.
Yeah, no, I know where you're going with this. I'm a curmudgeon in general, but hobbying is actually one of the few things that sort of bring me a little bit of peace.
Yeah.
I'm a curmudgeon about when the community is being less than ideal, but that's just a completely different story.
Yeah, we've had a lot of get off my lawn moments lately, and I think we're justified in it.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, look, we've been in this for a long enough time that yelling at clouds comes with the territory.
Yes. So this week for pre-orders, it's a comparatively quiet week, based off of, compared to the more recent weeks that we've had. But we've got the new Disciples of Tzeentch Battle Tome and the Vanguard box that goes with it, along with dice and cards and all of that.
Yeah, I feel like I just walked out of a particularly loud concert. Now the parking lot's extremely silent.
Yeah.
With everything that went out with the League of Votann, the amount of painting and reading I did for that particular army is getting a week where all we have is a few Age of Sigmar models. It really feels like I stepped into the void.
Yeah, I mean the guy's still out in the parking lot selling T-shirts, but concert's over.
Sure, but no one's buying anything. The which I'm not sure it's not what I mean. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be buying those Disciples of Tzeentch things. But one of the things that I'm immediately going to jump in with a disappointment, being the hobby curmudgeon. I saw the Disciples of Tzeentch box there, the Vanguard box, and my thoughts went immediately to, is this something that could also be used as a combat patrol box for a Tzeentch army for Chaos Demons in 40k? No. And the answer is a resounding no. This is a bunch of Zangors, Zangors, which are not in Warhammer 40k.
You can run them with your Thousand Sons. Assuming the sprues come with the bits you need, but actually they're better with swords anyway, if memory serves. It's been a hot second since I looked at doing that.
Here's a question though: Do they have a listing in the Chaos Demon Codex? Because I gave a cursory glance to see before the show, and I couldn't find a listing for them.
I don't know that they're in the Demon Codex. I don't remember now. Man,
I mean, if they're in the Demon Codex, I guess you could probably use them as a starter Tzeentch combat patrol type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, this is kind of I don't want to say lackluster. Obviously, Games Workshop can't be putting out, new armies and army sets and codexes every week. The fact that we're almost getting either a battle tome or a codex every 2 weeks is already pretty spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, I think if you're on the Sigmar side, I think you're looking pretty good, because it's the Magister, the 10 Zangors, the 10 Carrick Acolytes, 3 Flamers, and 3 Screamers.
Right, if only for the Screamers and Flamers. I mean, those I know for a fact are in the Chaos Demon Codex, so
I'm almost positive that
going for 'em.
The Zangors are. That might have been last edition. I keep losing track, but they were playable with Thousand Sons.
Right. Well, if they are good, if they aren't, that's a bit of a disappointment. Otherwise, here we are, Chaos Demons, maybe getting something.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I'm sorry if I'm looking at this mostly through the eyes of a 40k player, because that's what I am. I am trying to get into AOS though.
Yeah. There's also a bunch of made-to-order stuff. There's a bunch of Space Marines, including one that's showing you the rulebook, which is always my favorite. Someday I will collect all of the, look at my codex characters, and it's going to be very good. As well as a set for Middle-earth, The Breaking of the Fellowship, which is, the classic version. And that's, it for pre-orders.
Yes, well, again, what can we expect after they've just put out a brand new army faction for Warhammer 40k?
No, you're absolutely right. And I'm sure we'll be getting whispers of the rest of the boxes that are going to go with the Leagues of Votann anytime soon.
Well, hopefully. League of Votan definitely need to have, first of all, the kits that are in the army set, the codex, and all the other kits released as soon as possible. Otherwise, no one will be able to show up at tournaments and be turned away anytime soon.
You want to talk about that?
So one of the things I noticed today while I was doing a bit of research for the show is that there were news breaking about the Leagues of Votan being banned from certain tournaments in Germany, or as certain Reddit posts put it, all tournaments in Germany, which obviously meant that according to the greater Warhammer 40k community, all tournaments everywhere forever were banning the League of Votan completely.
Right.
Which is interesting. The only reason why this is noteworthy is because it's worth noting that while maybe I've played with the League of Votan the Games Workshop sent me, and I'm sure some people have started proxying some models either based on preview copies that they received legally or preview copies that they downloaded from a leaked PDF, they probably started proxying some games. It's a little bizarre, the idea of banning an army that's not out yet.
Yeah.
The models are released, are actually releasing as the day this podcast goes up, but we have no idea when specifically we'll be getting access to these models in a more widespread manner, or when we're going to be getting the rest of the models. Right. And believe me, this army set is about 600 points.
Sure.
And that is by stretching and grabbing every point you can out of upgrades.
Right.
You would need 4 of these boxes to get an army, and I'm not sure that would be a very balanced army, no matter how broken the League of Votan rules may seem to some.
Yeah.
So, are certain tournaments banning League of Votan based on some of their preview gameplay? Perhaps. Are they being a little early on the trigger for that? Definitely. We know for a fact the Games Workshop, whenever a new army, a new codex comes out, they will almost immediately have an FAQ or an errata to adjust some of the rules, either for better comprehension or better balance. But until we have the complete, at least dates for releases for the complete set of models for this army, I think it's safe to assume that while the word banned may not be the proper definition for what they're doing, this army is definitely not allowed in games, in any tournament.
I mean, it's certainly not before the box comes out. And I don't know, I don't know who would want to play an army that new without knowing what it does.
I mean, a lot of people would probably already know what it does. If you're really into the Leagues of Votan, you may have went and downloaded that leaked PDF while waiting for the codex. I think the biggest problem is that the models that are available to you are extremely limited. You don't have any of the transports. You don't have any of the only fast attacks you have are the Hernkin Pioneer, the bikes. And without all these synergies, even though I have to admit, like I've played a couple of games with the army set, some of those rules feel a little bit broken because on a smaller table size,
right,
you don't have the limits of being like the slow movement that the League of Votan have isn't that much of an impediment. So they do feel very strong. They're a very solid army, and perhaps they do need a little bit of nerfing. But I don't think banned is the correct word, is where I'm getting at. Not allowed. And even if you look back a few years ago, when Adepticon had to deal with new armies coming out, they usually left a buffer about three months. If a codex came out too close to the date of the tournaments for Adepticon by about 2 or 3 months, then that codex wasn't allowed. I wouldn't use the word banned. It's not like if you showed up with the wrong army, the wrong codex, they would just kick you out of the event. They would say, well, you should have read the rules. Like, we're not, this army is not allowed.
And I think the other part of it, right, is it's like everything. It doesn't matter if it's a tabletop game, if it's a video game. Every time they put something new in, everyone screams and cries that it's broken, because not only are you still working out how the new thing works and maybe misunderstanding rules, as we've seen happen more than once, But you also haven't had time to process like, oh, well, what I need to do is X. Happens every time. I am interested to see what they do for, say, Kill Team, which is inherently on a smaller board. So that'll be interesting.
That will definitely be interesting. But one of the things that gives Kill Team an advantage is that in Kill Team, you have a completely different rule set. Like your stat line is unique to Kill Team, so they can adjust that independently.
Right. They do try to keep the feel of the armies, though.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's not like the League of Votann are the only quote unquote slow army, anyways. No. So they play very much like the Tau, except with a little less mobility. Other problems that the League of Votann will probably encounter is that some things are difficult to put into transports.
Sure.
They don't have a flyer. They don't have any super heavies. They also have limited amount of units. I mean, for a new army, they came out with a lot of stuff, but it's still not the variety of, say, a Tau army or an Eldar Codex or a Space Marine Codex.
Right.
Again, like I said, maybe they do deserve a nerf. They do feel powerful. Like first time I've played 2 games against them and I got my ass absolutely kicked. Then again, I brought what were very weak lists, mostly because I wanted to try a swarm army versus a more elite army. So 40 models. One list was 42 models, and another list was 9 models. And so I wanted to just see what they were. I was trying to pull at the threads of the list more than get a victory in.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, they feel powerful, and maybe they do deserve a nerf. I just don't think. I don't think that. Again, I am pushing back mostly against the reactionary wording of that's used to say that, of course, you can't play League of Votann yet.
Yeah. No one should be surprised by that. Did you want to talk about the games that you played?
I can touch on it very briefly. I'm probably going to put a more specific video to go into a little bit more detail.
Sure.
So basically what I did is I built and painted the League of Votann army set, and I played a 500-point game versus my brother. I allowed him to play the League of Votann because I wanted to both give him that chance. He's more of a fan of squats than I am.
Yeah. And
also just I wanted to take a step back and sort of look at him from the other side of the table.
Yeah, because you got pretty deep into it there for a bit.
I did. And the thing is also my brother is more of a min-maxer. He's a lot better at getting the most out of combining different stratagems and I don't want to say abusing rules, but if anybody is going to find the parts that are broken about the League of Votann, it's definitely him between the two of us. The first game we played, I brought 2 units of 20 Gaunts, a Neurothrope, and the Parasite of Motrex. My reasoning mostly that I wanted to see what a Swarm army would do against them. I haven't played my Parasite that much, and then I needed 75 points of HQ for the Neurothrope, which also gave me a chance to experiment a bit, like how do they react when they don't have a Psyker versus a Psyker.
Sure.
And the game was going absolutely my way at the beginning. The bikes don't react super well to being charged by huge units because out of 3 bikes they still only have 9 wounds, so it's easy to punch through that.
Right.
However, their troop choices, the Hearthskin, the Hearthskin warriors are much tougher. Granted, the particular league culture, well, I don't know if it's culture, but whatever, their special rule for the URSR, which is the sub-faction I chose for that army, gives them +1 toughness.
Sure.
So we're talking about a bunch of Gaunts trying with strength 3, trying to get through toughness 5 models.
Yeah.
It basically, after getting through that first unit of bikes, punching through anything else became almost impossible, and I eventually like through attrition lost most of my models. That being said, there's so many ways I could have played this game differently to be smarter, but I didn't. Although I had read the rules, I did not have a complete grasp of what I was going up against. The second army I played was an even dumber list. I brought basically Adeptus Mechanicus. I brought 6 Cataphron Destroyers with Plasma Culverins, a Tech Priest, and 2 Sidonian Dragoons with Taser Lances. This game played better could have been a victory for me.
Yeah.
Even though I was going up against these high toughness warriors, just the fact that I'm not just hitting them with strength 3 weapons, the fact that I'm not attacking them with weapons that are only AP -1, which gets nullified by the void armor for the League of Votann, it allowed me to get a lot more kills. And if the dice would have played in my favor just a little bit more, if I hadn't done one absolutely stupid mistake in declaring a charge I shouldn't have in the last round, I would have had that game. I would have tabled Leagues of Votann. So how can I say? And also, I don't play my admechs very well, so I'm not as familiar with their stratagems as I am with the Tyranids.
Right.
I couldn't capitalize on some clever combos the same way. So all being said, the League of Votann, in my opinion, feel like dwarves, which is really the most important thing.
Exactly.
They feel tough, they feel slow, they feel technologically inclined, and the judgment system for how they get bonuses on units that either perform too well or kill some of their units.
Yeah.
It represents, it's very fluffy even in the match play rules. So if Games Workshop decides that they need to tweak certain things to make them more balanced from that point on, as long as they keep that particular feel for the League of Votann, I think they've got an absolute winner with that army.
That's awesome. Yay, very exciting.
I'm not a Space Dwarf guy.
Yeah.
But man, oof.
I feel like every army that comes out, you're like, well, I'm not but
the difference being that usually I'm leaning almost exclusively on aesthetics for this, but this time true. I've actually rushed through putting the box together and playing it, and I guess you could say I've done the same thing for the Chaos Knights, and also I'm collecting Chaos Knights, so maybe I'm just easy to seduce with pretty models and fun rules.
Well, that works.
Speaking of fun, So in the previous week, just after we put out our last episode, just after we recorded our last episode, the social media kind of exploded with the hashtag Faces of Warhammer.
Yes.
And that seemed super exciting to me from a very outside perspective, as just a dude that was seeing a bunch of people smiling while holding models and I said, cool, I like models, and these people seem happy to have their models, which is just absolutely like the 100% of why I play this game is just like giggling like a moron with whatever Chaos Demon I'm painting or whatever. So what was that movement? What was that hashtag about?
So it started with, and I forget specifically who it was, but somebody
I actually know that one.
Do you know that one?
Yeah, it's the Warhammer girl on Twitter and Instagram.
Right. She was getting like bullied in her comments because she posted a picture of her face, and like that undesirable portion of the Warhammer community were up in arms, and so the community rallied and was like, too bad, we're all here and we all look different, and you're going to see all of us. Congratulations.
Which was fun because to me it was just seeing all of them, yes, but also just seeing a bunch of cool models.
Yeah.
I'm an absolute child when it comes to these things, so this is why I kind of wanted your perspective on it.
Yeah, and it was cool, and it was nice to see. It was just nice to see the people, right? Because there's a lot of Warhammer people that I could identify their models, in a lineup, but I have no idea who that. Like, I could run into them, I could have dinner with them at Adepticon and have no idea who they were. You know what I mean? I mean, that's
absolutely. There's a long list of painting styles of people doing specific techniques and looks on different figs and I can match the social media personality and the painting style, but anything else is just an absolute abstract. So it was kind of interesting to be able to sort of match some people to see who they were and see their faces, and also just the absolute variety of people that play Warhammer, which doesn't come as a surprise. Like, as someone who goes to events like Adepticon, like, we see that. So
we know, we're on the inside.
We know, but it's fun that it's kind of interesting, especially that Warhammer girl put together this huge montage of a bunch of these images, and it looks really cool just to see this army of people with their models. But for anybody that doesn't have the opportunity or the privilege to go to events, it's cool to be able to notice that, to be able to see that, like, with your own eyes.
And I think for outsiders, right, for people that are not part of the hobby, right, Warhammer does still have that, like, I say it all the time because it's so funny. From the beginning of 40-Year-Old Virgin, I'm painting your silver pants blue. You know what I mean? Like, it does have that, like, lonely guy in his basement painting models reputation.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that, because here's a little anecdote. Like, I made a point of playing the League of Votann against my brother at our local store.
Sure.
And while we were playing, this group of four dudes showed up, and they just had a bunch of questions. They wanted to see the models, and they had just gotten into the hobby. This one guy we're talking to was doing Black Templar, and he had hesitated between waiting for League of Votann and doing Black Templar. I told him, any choice is a good choice. I lied. I think he should have just waited and gone for League of Votann myself.
Yeah, but we know that there are very few people that only do the one. I mean, they're out there and they baffle me, but
I want to be them. It sounds so much easier. But the thing is, the vibe I'm getting from a lot of the new players that are getting into the hobby is that they're not walking into the game with this baggage. And I think this whole ideal of, I'm painting your silver pants blue, lonely virgin in a basement, I think this is getting phased out. And I like that things like Faces of Warhammer are sort of the positive replacement. I agree. Like, I know what you're going to say. It's still there. It's still super there. But it's there in a cornered squirrel kind of way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, so it's really nice that it was just, like, flooded everywhere for days. I loved it.
It was great, and it's still almost a little bit going on. And my favorite part of it is just that it's as a way of pushing back against the sort of bullying that the Warhammer girl was receiving. As a way of pushing back, it's pushing back in a positive way.
Yeah.
Just leaning into what's cool about the hobby instead of getting combative and basically getting on whatever level that bullying was happening.
It was nice because I found a lot of non-white male hobbyists that I follow on Twitter. I found because they've tweeted about their, harassment they've received, and that's, like, how I find them. And so it was nice to have, like, a more positive version of that. Be like, I enjoy your models. I'm going to hit the button.
No, absolutely. I like being able to highlight when positive things like that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to when we can do it without having because someone got bullied preamble.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need them to be terrible people for us to be good people.
So in other news, keeping on the positive vibe that we've got, I noticed today that the Games Workshop is giving us some free rules.
Free rules. I love free rules. We were talking about this pre-show that once upon a time, the party line of Games Workshop was, well, we're a miniature company. And while I feel like their rules have improved significantly, they can go ahead and give us all the rules they want for free. I'll take them.
Yeah, and I think Black Library has demonstrated that people will always have a thirst to give money in exchange for lore, fluff, and pretty images. So I'm no one's asking for codexes to go away. I'm
Nope.
just saying that if you give me free rules, I may buy some of the models associated with them with more ease.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're talking about free rules for some 30K models.
Yeah. So I was a little confused about exactly what these are. Because it does specify classic Mechanicum units. So is this almost like the what do they call them in 40K?
The legacy stuff,
Yeah,
I think maybe.
something like that.
They
Is
have a
this
fancy
like
name for it.
that, or are we just? I mean, it does say legacies. So are these like you can play them, but dot dot dot? Do we know?
I think it's probably something like that. Basically, it's a way for Games Workshop to say that if you already own these models that are no longer available officially on the website, here are the rules to make that happen.
Sure.
I own a Tau shoebox, aka an Orca dropship, and they do not have rules for that anymore.
Yeah.
Except they did put them out in one of these type of free releases online. And now, if I want, I can play the Tau Empire's most useless aircraft.
Yay!
It is not great. It's never had good rules. It's not the coolest looking model either.
Yeah.
But I have one, and now I can play it if ever I want. And I may never do that, but it's great to know I have the possibility. And
Good.
I was gonna say, like, whenever Games Workshop gives us free things like that,
Yeah.
I want to encourage them and make them see, like, this is what we want as much as possible. I mean, they're a business, they're allowed to want to make money.
Sure.
I mean, I don't work for free either. But at the same time, I want them to realize that there are certain benefits to not always putting a price tag or putting rules and information behind a price wall.
Yeah, we also got a scenario for Necromunda for the Delax and the Corpse Grinder cult.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And so that's an awful lot of fun. I love weird scenarios for just about anything. So that's A+. We did also get we got the round of FAQs too, didn't we? I remember seeing it and now I'm scrolling and I can't find it.
I believe we did get a round of FAQs. They're putting out these FAQs at such a rapid pace that very often I'll notice on Twitter that, oh, here's our new FAQ. I'll go check, and it has no new information for any of the armies I play.
Well, it's quarterly, right? Isn't that the plan? Isn't it supposed to be quarterly?
I think data slates are supposed to be quarterly.
You're right.
FAQs may also be quarterly, but and maybe it's just because I'm not paying attention enough, but it does feel like they're coming out faster.
Yeah. As soon as there's a question, they have an answer.
I think it has more to do with whenever a codex comes out, they'll tying back to the what we were talking about for League of Votann. I wouldn't be surprised in maybe 2 or 3 weeks we get a new FAQ with League of Votann adjustments.
Yeah. But
whether they're nerfs or clarifications.
Those free rules for Horus Heresy did also come with an FAQ for that game. Yeah. So tangentially, the Warhammer Magic the Gathering Commander decks went on pre-order and are sold out just about everywhere. Real fast. So I don't know if it's the Magic players or the Warhammer players that are scooping them up, but the overlap is not insignificant, I'm sure.
No, and I have not played Magic the Gathering since first edition Black Borders, when I decided not to play that game because it did not bring out the best out of my gaming club.
Sure. And understandable.
Looking back, I basically just gave away the cards. I should have held on to some of them. But hindsight is 20/20 on that kind of
every
thing.
Every time. I think that covers everything for this week, does it not?
I think we should have a small, very short mention that the League of Votann army set also sold out extremely quick. That's not a surprise.
No, and hopefully that means that they'll be putting out the boxes for it sooner. Because there's nothing in this box that you can't, other than the special edition codex. There's nothing in this box you will not be able to get otherwise.
There's no special edition model. I think they've stopped doing that a while back.
Yeah.
Everything, and the window of time between army sets and actual models has shrunk a lot since they did the same type of release for the Orc Beast Nagas.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this very weekend we get maybe a preview, or maybe 1 or 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
I feel that we will probably have everything at least on pre-order by the end of October.
That would be good. In the meantime, check us out on all our social media. Links are in the show notes. And until next week, happy painting. Materials shown in this video are provided fully or in part by Games Workshop for promotional purposes. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping us a like and subscribing. Thanks for watching.